Some sports franchises, they just seem to always be winning. And then there are others whose stories are, well, a whole lot more interesting. Today, we're diving deep into the Cleveland Cavaliers, a team whose 50-year journey is just a masterclass in drama, heartbreak, and eventually ultimate triumph.
See, to really get the Cavs, you first have to understand the passion of Cleveland itself. This isn't just any old fan base. It's a community that has been on an unbelievable emotional roller coaster. I'm talking the absolute depths of despair to the highest peak you can possibly imagine in the sports world.
And that's because, at its heart, the Cavaliers saga isn't really just about basketball. It's this powerful story about loyalty being tested, about promises being broken, and about a championship comeback that basically healed the wounds of an entire city.
So, where this whole story starts, let's roll it all the way back to the beginning, to the team's founding in 1970, and an era that would pretty much define both hope and, well, total chaos.
Okay, so the Cavs started out like most expansion teams do, by losing. A lot. But then, by 1976, something pretty special happened. They were led by guys like Austin Carr and Nate Thurmond, and they won their first division title in a run so unexpected, it got nicknamed the Miracle at Richfield. It was this amazing flash of brilliance, right before the team was sold and things took a very, very dark turn. So in 1980, the team gets bought by a guy named Ted Stepien, and his tenure was an absolute catastrophe. He made this terrible habit of trading away future first-round draft picks for, frankly, mediocre players. He was basically mortgaging the team's entire future for these short-term fixes that just never, ever worked.
I mean, you know an owner is historically bad when the entire league has to create a rule and name it after you just to stop other teams from making the same exact mistakes. The Stepien rule. That became his legacy, a cautionary tale for the whole NBA.
And the result of his leadership? Well, in 3 seasons, the team won just 66 games, while losing 180. They even had a 24-game losing streak. The franchise was right on the brink of collapse.
But, out of the ashes, a new era began. After the Gunn brothers bought the team in 1983, the long, slow process of recovery and rebuilding could finally get started. So the Cavs finally started drafting smart, and they put together this really tough, talented core. You had Mark Price's incredible shooting, Brad Daugherty's presence down low, and the high-flying Larry Nance. All of a sudden, Cleveland basketball was exciting and, more importantly, it was respectable again. And this group, they completely turned the franchise around. They became a fixture in the playoffs all through the late 80s and early 90s, and it all culminated in a trip to the Eastern Conference Finals in 1992. The dark days of the Stepien era were finally in the rearview mirror. And then, the moment arrived. The one that changed, well, everything. After years of being just okay following the Price and Daugherty era, the lottery balls bounced Cleveland's way, and it gave them the chance to draft a once-in-a-generation talent from just down the road. The hometown kid LeBron James was coming to Cleveland. The pressure, the expectations, they were immense. But he delivered almost right away, transforming the Cavs from a lottery team into a powerhouse and leading them to their first ever NBA Finals appearance in 2007. But just as they reached these incredible highs, came one of the lowest lows. In 2010, on a TV special called The Decision, LeBron announced he was leaving Cleveland. For the city, for the fans, it was an absolute gut punch. Just devastating. And the numbers, they don't lie. The contrast was just brutal. While LeBron was off winning championships in Miami, the Cavaliers just plummeted right back to the bottom of the league. They won only 97 games in 4 seasons. His absence was like a black hole for the franchise. But then, the unthinkable happened. The story wasn't over. In 2014, LeBron announced he was coming back, and he had one single goal in mind: bring a championship home to Cleveland. And this time, he wasn't alone. Oh no. The Cavs paired him with Kyrie Irving, the #1 pick they drafted while he was gone, and they traded for all-star power forward Kevin Love. The Big Three was born, and the mission was crystal clear: win a title. So after losing in the 2015 finals, they get back there in 2016, and they're facing this historic 73-win Warriors team. And boom, they quickly fall into a 3-1 series hole, a deficit no team had ever come back from in the finals.
But then they won Game 5 on the road. Then they dominated Game 6 at home. And in a legendary Game 7, they did the impossible.
And you have to understand, this wasn't just the Cavaliers' first ever championship. It was the first title for any major Cleveland sports team in 52 years. It broke the infamous Cleveland sports curse, a weight that had defined the city's identity for generations. It brought an entire community to its knees in pure joy. After 4 straight trips to the finals, LeBron left again in 2018, this time on much better terms, for sure, and that started the team's current challenge. How do you build a future and a new identity in the post-LeBron era? You know, one of the cool ways you can track a team's whole story is just by looking at their jerseys and logos. The Cavs' look has shifted dramatically over the decades, and each one really represents a different chapter in the franchise's story. First, you had the classic wine and gold of the 70s. This is the look worn by that Miracle at Richfield team. It's simple, it's classic, and for a whole generation of fans, it represents the team's very first taste of what success felt like. And modern uniforms, like this black statement jersey, they carry that history forward. This is a direct callback to the black sleeve jerseys the team wore when they clinched that historic Game 7 victory in 2016. It's literally history woven right into the fabric. So today, the team is building around a new core, led by all-star guard Donovan Mitchell. The goal isn't just to win anymore. It's to build a consistent, sustainable contender that can create its own legacy, totally independent of the superstars of the past. And really, that leaves us with the big question for the Cavaliers today. After a history defined by epic lows, a brief miracle, and the titanic influence of one player, what does it truly take for a franchise to forge an identity that actually lasts? That's the challenge and the next chapter for Cleveland.